Hey guys, it's JoINrbs here, coming at you with the 25th best ship in FTL, aka the 4th worst, the Federation C, in my humble opinion. This is a bad ship. As we're right down here in the bottom of ships in FTL, we're still looking at ships which have massive problems right at the start of the game, in Sector 1. And the Federation C is sort of a standout because it doesn't have any weapons. And there are other ships in the game that don't have any weapons at the start, but they have, like, you know, something good to make up for it. Federation C doesn't have that. So it's an interesting ship. You do start with a 4-slot weapon system, so you can theoretically get there. But in the meanwhile, you have a 2-slot crew teleporter, which you can use a Mantis and Human to board with, and a Clone Bay. And that's sort of how you're expected to kill ships in Sector 1 and 2. There's a flak artillery. This is a Federation ship extra system, basically. It's like a flak 2, except on a 50-second cooldown at the start of the game. You can upgrade it to get it to a 20-second cooldown, so this can actually be one of the most intense high damage per second gunships in the game if you get to that point of the game where you have the flak artillery fully charged and 4 weapons. But for right now, the system's essentially useless, and in a lot of runs, it's actually detrimental to have the flak artillery because we're starting with 7 systems on this ship and you're only allowed 8. That means that we cannot buy both cloaking and hacking, 2 extremely strong options. We're gonna have to pick between one. Pick one between them. Whatever. Anyway, let's run into the game and actually look at how this ship lays out. We start with a crew manning weapons, which is sort of adorable. I mean, that's just really cute, right? We have to teleport on board the enemy ship, and Zoltans unfortunately start with 70 hit points, so it's generally going to be better to be sending a Human and Mantis to do that. We have Zoltan in piloting and engines. That's the most defensive setup that we can use on board our ship. And then we're boarding with the Mantis and the Human. If you don't understand how to kill things with a crew teleporter, there's a lot of enemy ship AI and enemy crew AI that takes a while to learn, and there are people who have made very good guide videos for that. If you look for FTL boarding tutorial on YouTube, I'm not going to try to reinvent the wheel and do that all over again, but these guys basically can kill ships with 3 crew and no medbay or clone bay very easily, and can kill ships with a medbay and clone bay with the help of our other Zoltans fairly easily as well. It's mostly a matter of how long it takes, because they're starting with 1 shield. If we're bringing the Zoltans, we're going to drop our pilot, so we will have 0% evade. By the way, when you're running to the teleporter with Zoltans, be really careful that you don't run this way and drop your shields. We talked a little bit about moving Zoltans in the Stealth B video, and it comes up here as well. The Federation C, be really careful that you don't just drop your shields when you run Zoltans to the crew teleport. Anyway, it's like, sure, we can kill stuff. We have no real feasible answer to Zoltan shields unless the ship with Zoltan shields has terrible weapons and we can just wait for the flak artillery to... I think generally it will take 2 shots, so wait a minute 40 seconds for this to take their shields down. We have a lot of trouble dealing with missile launchers because we can't kill enemy crew fast enough to stop the missile launcher firing at us. I want to make a somewhat important point, but we do start with a level 2 clone bay. It seems small, but with a level 2 clone bay, there are a lot of weapons in the game that can deal 1 damage to a system and have a fire chance. Preventing the clone bay is a really good idea, especially if you're playing pause, so you can shut the doors when you need oxygen in it for whatever reason and not have to worry too much about that. Having this prevented so that if something hits it and starts a fire, it doesn't go down all the way can be the difference between losing 2 of your crew or winning a fight with just a little bit of hull damage taken. So that's an important micro thing. Other than that, it's mostly about boarding with the Federation Sea, and that's going to be your gameplay up until you can turn into a gunship. Because if you get to the flagship and you're not a gunship with the Federation Sea yet, if you're trying to still be just a boarding ship, you're only going to have hacking or cloaking, not both. You're very unlikely to have a crystal crew member, so your ability to deal with like the crew of the flagship is extremely hampered, and it's going to be very, very dangerous to try to do so. This is a ship which is very dependent on surviving in the early sectors and then turning into a gunship somehow in the later sectors. I have this ship at 18th for cost without consumables and 21st for cost with consumables. It doesn't start with a whole lot. So it's a fairly cheap ship to buy. Having no weapons is a large part of that. How much you value the flak artillery changes that quite a bit. I valued it at 20 scrap and sort of felt like that was generous. I sort of wanted to value it negatively. So if you gave that more of a value, the ship would get more expensive. But as it stands, it's, you know, about 25th percentile in like how expensive this ship is that you're looking at. We do have 4 crew, 2 Zoltans, a Mantis. Pretty nice. We do start with shields and 2 levels of engines. And the Federation Sea is really bizarre in how it scales relative to how good it is, because it actually doesn't cost very much to get this ship stabilized for mid-game, if you can find the right stuff. If you can find the right stuff. That's why the ship's bad, the part where I said if you can find the right stuff. If you can find a Zoltan shield bypass or maybe an ion blast to deal with enemy Zoltan shields, all you need is like cloaking or hacking, some more shields, and some more engine points. And if you're competent on boarding, like maybe a small bomb or a missile launcher is going to get you consistently killing enemy ships all the way through mid-game. This ship was released with the Advanced Edition content, and a lot of people are like, oh, it can't be that bad because it has a crew teleporter, right? And then they played it and they're like, oh, it is that bad. But at the same time, it does still have a crew teleporter. So if you can get a little bit of supportive stuff, this ship will hang together through mid-game. The problem, again, though, is we only get one more system when you have to be able to kill the flagship. So we do have to turn into something with guns and probably, like, shields 4, engine 6, or something, ideally, in terms of defenses. The last Federation Sea run I played was, I think, shields 4, engine 6, and hacking level 3. And that just barely hung together. So, this is actually a ship that I really like a scrap recovery arm purchase on in like Sector 4 quite commonly. And the reason for that is how dangerous life is for the Federation Sea on a good run is like extremely dangerous at the start, where any missile launcher hitting the wrong things can just really screw you. To like a very happy place in the middle of the game. Assuming that we've been bio-killing enemy ships, we'll be getting pretty nice rewards. Bio-kill rewards are slightly better than regular killing rewards. And assuming that we can find the right sorts of things in stores, it doesn't cost that much to get this ship to a point where it's quite survivable and, you know, just doing okay. The crew teleporter is really good for that. And so around about Sector 4 or 5, you can start thinking about, okay, I need to collect as much scrap as possible because the ship is awkward for the flagship. It just can't turn into the best thing in the world for the flagship. So I want enough scrap to make sure that I, you know, max out my reactor, maybe get a level 2 backup battery as well even. I want to make sure that I can get up to weapon 7 or 8. I want to make sure that I can level the flak artillery perhaps. It's a decent time to pick it up. Yeah, that's basically the Federation Sea. I'm gonna play a couple of jumps. Just if you've never seen boarding or whatever, I'll try to explain what's going on. This one's very easy. Actually, we can talk about something cool here. They have an ion weapon with charge time such that it will fire considerably before the pike beam. We don't want it to hit our shields, so we can drop our shields. And it passes by, doesn't hit the pike beam. We can do some kiting here. This gets us a little bit more damage. Okay, and that's a kill. So, even on a very simple fight, got to do 2 somewhat advanced things there. Nice rewards. We dropped our shields so that the ion wouldn't hit our shield barrier. And, you know, pretty much whatever it hits is better or the same as it hitting shields. If it hits our shields room anyway, then sure, our shields go down. But if it's anywhere else, we get to put our shields back up again, and the pike beam will not hit us. Recognizing when you can do this is a lot about understanding how long it takes weapons to charge and exactly what they do. And then we got to kite on board the enemy ship, where the enemy AI just doesn't do the best job of following you into rooms with maximal efficiency. And so we were able to isolate guys for a little bit of extra damage and win the fight. So the clone bay automatically clones dead crew with skill penalty, taking advantage of micro-cloning crew heals partially every jump. So we get plus 16 hit points per jump with the clone bay, even if it's not powered. That just happens. These guys are currently on 11 health and 7 health, so they'd be up to like 25 or so. Unfortunately, 25 health is really not enough to kill enemy crew. So typically what we'll do on a lot of clone bay ships is we're just going to kill our crew, and they'll respawn with full health. This is like how you use a clone bay to pretend it's a med bay too, almost. Unfortunately, that does mean that we didn't net any positive experience from the fight. We lose 1 melee combat skill every time that we clone our guys in this way, and each of them got 1 skill from the fight, I believe. But it means that we have full health crew for the next fight. All right, in terms of buying stuff, typically, unless you want to go to a market, which we can do because we do have an emergency respirators we can sell for 25 scrap, but typically you just want to shield buffer in Sector 1 as soon as possible and then go up to shields 2 immediately afterward. There's a low chance event where you're fighting against an enemy drone and they've hacked your shields in Sector 1, which is really nasty, and getting up to shields 2 as soon as possible makes that far less lethal. And there's... I'm pretty sure that they don't hack 3 points of shields. Man, that would be a sick event if they hacked 3. I'm pretty sure that they don't get you down to level 1 shields. Also, there are just a lot of ships that are going to deal 1 point of damage to our shield system at some point while we're trying to kill them with borders. And so having an extra point prevents our shields from going down, which saves us a lot of hull damage. You're going to go to shield 2 pretty early anyway, so get that buffer point and shields. Really important. I feel like 1 more jump. Ooh, fun. Let's see if we die. This is a situation where we want to vent the clone bay early. The star that we're near is going to be dealing damage to us by setting us on fire, and we want to make sure that it only deals 1 damage to a room. We want to make sure that if it sets fire to the clone bay, the fire immediately goes out, or goes out as soon as possible. This is just a terrible fight, though. This is the sort of fight that the Federation C can immediately die to in a fight where, you know, having a weapon would be really nice. They have a med bay, a drone control, a basic laser, a missile launcher. They obviously have a sun that's attacking us as well. It's attacking them too. Anyway, see what I can do here. Might be fun. See what sort of drone they have. System repair drones, not so bad. What we're gonna do is we're gonna kite around a bit. Ooh, our door is going down is really awkward. I'm gonna turn off oxygen. Okay, we've now set up a situation where, I mean, I'm pretty sure we're dead, but... Oh yeah, we're so dead. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this expedition of the Federation Sea. Maybe? 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 Nice. There are no more life signs remaining on the ship. We got very fortunate there. The solar flare took their medbay out for us. The Federation Sea is... It's an incredible experience playing the Federation Sea, because it's such a bad ship. This fight can kill us so many ways, but it's such a complicated ship to play as well. Boarding techniques are... They're sort of backwards solvable in that the AI will react a certain way to whatever you do, and the more that you try them, the more you'll learn about how the AI is doing things. Working out how to take down that medbay or take down their weapons or something like that with your boarders is not so much a matter of in the moment thinking of something as already knowing in advance based on what you see, what you have to do. But that plus like missile launchers hitting different systems on our ship, a solar flare hazard doing nasty things to us, all this other stuff adds up to make for just a really, really, really challenging time sometimes with the Federation Sea. And so when I lose with the Stealth B or the NGV, it's often like, oh, this ship is terrible, there was nothing I could have done. And when I lose with the Federation Sea, it's like 50%, oh, this ship is terrible, I was in a terrible place. But also 50%, I could have played this slightly better. You know, maybe it was possible to get a little bit better crew movement, a little bit better system repair or something like that, and come out of it alive. Let's see if we actually do come out of this alive, because that's not guaranteed yet. There's no oxygen in there, so the fire will go out on its own. There's no oxygen on board our ship, of course. Okay, and it looks like we're good. Look for where the fire is and engines. And it's on the sensors, obviously. Their ship exploded from the solar flare. And we're ready to go at this point, actually. So when the next solar flare is about to hit, we'll just leave this mantis to spawn a little bit longer. When the next solar flare is about to hit, we can get out of here. Whew! Don't really need to repair the flak artillery or the weapon systems, which don't have anything in them. Yeah, so the Federation Sea. Welcome to the clusterfuck that is now your life for the next 8 sectors, because it doesn't really get better than this. You never get to be a ship which like just crushes everything with the Federation Sea, because you're always limited to only one of cloaking and hacking, and you're probably somewhat behind on getting really strong weapons up. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. The Federation Sea is a lot of fun to play. It's not one of my favorite ships to play. It makes me feel really bad all the time when I play it. And I think that second jump that we just did there is, you know, a pretty good example of how completely out of control things can get just immediately. If you did like the video, I am of course making a series of these, so check them all out. And I have links below to Patreon, where people can support my YouTube content. Twitch TV, where I'm streaming FTL all the time. If you're here on YouTube, you obviously have a subscribe button right there for you if you want to subscribe. And there's a link to my Discord as well if you want to get involved more in the community. That's where I'm available to chat and talking about upcoming projects and announcing when I go live or when a video goes up and stuff like that. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. I've been JoINrbs, and I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Federation Sea.